Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. This is Kathy. We are continuing to evaluate court documents from the case styled as Idaho versus Kohberger. In our last episode, we learned that Mr. Kohberger made his first appearance in an Idaho court on the 5th of January 2023. And 1 week later, on January 12th, 2023, he made his second appearance in court. On that date, if you look at the court minutes for January 12th, 2023, you will see that there was a very brief hearing that lasted only 4 minutes, but it was very important. The court minutes tell us that both counsel for Mr. Kohberger and for the state of Idaho were present. The court noted the presence of counsel and Mr. Kohberger's physical appearance in court and that he was in custody. The judge then stated that Ms. Taylor stated that the defendant is prepared to waive his right to a speedy preliminary hearing and stated that the defendant is requesting a preliminary hearing at the end of June. This would be in 2023, and that Ms. Taylor requested at least 4 or 5 days for the preliminary hearing. Now, what is this? First, Mr. Kohberger was entitled under our Constitution to a speedy preliminary hearing, and this is because our Constitution was established to ensure that defendants could not be held against their will in a jail or in a prison for lengthy and unknown periods of time. After an arrest, they are entitled to a preliminary hearing. What is a preliminary hearing? This is where the judge would need to evaluate evidence that the state states it has to determine if it is proper to continue holding this defendant further and bounding him over for trial on the counts that have been entered against him. Recall that as of this date, Mr. Kohberger was arrested and held on the strength of the affidavit of probable cause signed by Detective Brett Payne. That affidavit is not evidence. It is a description of evidence that Detective Payne states that Moscow Police Department has to believe that Mr. Kohberger committed the crimes he was charged with. Now, why would Ms. Taylor waive Mr. Kohberger's right to a speedy preliminary hearing and ask that it not be held until the end of June? Well, if you look at the docket, you will see that the day before, she filed a first demand for discovery, and she is asking for the evidence that the state claims it has and other things to be turned over to the defense. Without that evidence, it would, in my opinion, be improper to rush to a speedy preliminary hearing. And so, if we continue to look at the minutes, we will see that the prosecutor said that July would work better for him, but he could make it work at the end of June if necessary. The court stated that the calendar would be better for her to be at the end of June, and that after finding that the defendant's waiver of speedy preliminary hearing was knowing, intelligently, and voluntarily given by Mr. Kohberger in open court with the assistance of counsel, that the court accepted the defendant's waiver, and that this matter was set for preliminary hearing on June 26, 2023 at 9 a.m., and that the court would reserve that entire week, and stated that the hearings would begin at 9 a.m. each day. The hearing ended at 8:11 a.m., and at that time, Mr. Kohberger was remanded to the custody of the sheriff without bail. Please join us for the next episode in this series where we will continue to evaluate what happened in January 23 in this case. Thank you.